What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here, and in today's video, I'm showing you how to get the highest damage grenades in the entire game. You will have your grenades going from this to this. So sit back and relax, and I will show you all the buffs that we have going on to allow our grenades to hit for 7 times more damage than normal and one-shot champions with ease. So the whole build revolves around the exotic Verity's Brow. It has the exotic perk The Fourth Magic, which states, weapon final blows with a damage type matching your subclass energy grant death throws, which provides a grenade damage bonus and grants you grenade energy. When you have death throws and throw a grenade, nearby allies gain greatly increased grenade regeneration for a short time. So let's break down the exotic a little further so we know exactly what we're dealing with. First, our weapons must match our subclass element. The main build for this video is based around solar fusion grenades, but this exotic will buff literally any grenade in the game. The damage bonus it provides is 20% per stack of death throws, and death throws last 11 seconds for every weapon kill that you get that matches your subclass energy type, and it refreshes on kill. So when you have 5 stacks, your grenades will hit for double damage. It also gives you a 50% faster grenade cooldown from your base regeneration rate. Additionally, when you run this in a fire team, it makes the grenade regen way faster thanks to the Feel the Flame perk. Whenever you throw a grenade, you will grant your allies Feel the Flame, which grants them 10 times regeneration speed. This means if multiple people in the fire team are running it, you can throw your grenades extremely often. It only lasts for 5 seconds, but if there are lots of ads around and you keep chucking grenades, you can basically spam this. I mentioned it allows your grenades to hit for double damage. Well, in the background gameplay, you've been seeing how hard these grenades hit on Carl. Vortex grenades can apply weaken and we can make them last longer, so they deal a ton of damage. Pulse grenades can apply jolt and deal damage over time, so they are very strong as well. And to my surprise, it even buffs things like glacier grenades. I was pretty surprised about this. And it will even make your grapple melee hit for double damage. So this is an extremely versatile exotic armor piece as you can run it with many different builds. So the aspects and fragments you want to choose are based around spamming your grenades as much as possible. So now that we know what the exotic does, let's look at our aspects and fragments for this build in particular. We want fusion grenades on our solar subclass, and then we of course want the aspect Touch of Flame, which enhances our fusion grenades by making them explode twice. And that second explosion actually does more damage, so this will enhance our grenade damage by a lot. You can then run either Icarus Dash or Heat Rises, whichever you prefer. But for me, I like Icarus Dash for the movement. Then for fragments, you can go a lot of different ways here, but the most crucial fragment is Ember of Ashes. This applies more Scorch stacks to targets, and I recently did a big deep dive on everything that you need to know about Scorch, and one thing I learned was Scorch is proportional to the damage that applied it. What this means is that your Scorch will burn for more damage if the application is buffed, and in this case, our grenades are doing double damage, so our Scorch will deal double damage. So long as we have death throws times 5 and our grenade is what applied the initial Scorch to the target. Therefore, I like to run Ember of Ashes. This will allow our fusion grenade to apply 60 stacks of Scorch. We then run Celestial Fire to apply more Scorch from a distance. This build is centered around Grandmaster Nightfall specifically, so Celestial Fire is better for hitting enemies at a distance. And with Ember of Ashes, a full melee applies 45 stacks of Scorch. This means that we can get ignitions if we land both on an enemy. What is great about this is the ignition damage also stacks. Again, if you want more detailed info on all this, be sure to check out that Scorch stacking video. But basically, that means we can absolutely melt champs with our grenade melee wombo combo. Another awesome interaction with Scorch and ignitions is that if a weapon applied to Scorch, you can get an ignition that kills a bunch of enemies, you will instantly get up to 5 stacks of death throws. So there are a lot of intricacies with this build that make it super powerful. But now, let's get back to the fragments. The next fragment I really like to run is Ember of Torches. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. Sadly, this gives -10 to our discipline stat, but I do think it is worth it for a couple reasons. While this is a grenade-centric build, it thrives off of getting solar weapon kills. For this reason, you want to be dealing big damage with your weapons, and Radiant is a 25% boost to your weapon damage. So I think it is well worth to run here. Because the easier you can mow down enemies with your solar weapons, the easier you can get 5 stacks of death throws. And that brings us to our next fragment, Ember of Empyrean. Solar weapon or ability final blows extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to you. So if we toss out a melee to give us Radiant, then we can extend that 25% damage bonus to our weapons with this fragment. So we basically have 25% extra damage permanently. Sadly, it does give us -10 to resilience, so we have to make that up because you obviously want to run 100 resilience for endgame content, and then 100 discipline because we want as many grenades as possible. So that brings us to the final fragment, Ember of Mercy. When you revive an ally, you and other nearby allies gain restoration. Picking up a fire sprite grants restoration. Now, sadly we don't have a way to make fire sprites with this fragment setup, but I am just running this fragment for the +10 resilience to keep my stats where I want them, which is basically 100 resilience and 100 discipline, and then as high of recovery as possible. If you have better armor than me and don't need this fragment, then run something else here that you prefer. There are many routes you can go. So we have covered the aspects and fragments, and now comes for the mods. As is often the case, this depends on the content that you're running, but here are the mods that I like to run. On the helmet, we have 1 Ashes to Assets for more super energy on grenade kills. This is pretty obvious for a grenade-based build. Then we have Harmonic Siphon. Again, this is good for any subclass you want to run this with, because you want to match your weapons to your subclass. So in this case, it allows my solar weapons to make orbs, and we'll be getting lots of solar weapon kills. And then I have Heavy Ammo Finder. I like to run this build with an exotic primary, so this will get us lots of heavy ammo. On the gloves, I cannot run fusion grenades without fastball, but if you can, then swap this out for momentum transfer or impact induction. These will just feed back into your abilities. If you are solo, impact induction is nice for helping to get your grenade back quicker, but in a fire team, with another Verity's player especially, you will have a ton of grenade energy, so momentum transfer and bolstering detonation are the way to go, as you will get melee and rift energy back when you deal damage with a grenade, which you will be doing a lot of. Grenade kickstart could also be good here, or firepower for orbs on grenade kills. I actually like to run solar loader, as again, despite being a grenade centric build, you do need lots of weapon kills, and I hate reloading. This is especially nice if you're running Sunshot, I find. On the robes, run whatever resistance you need for the activity that you're running. The legs, I like to run 2 solar surge mods and 1 solar scavenger, but you do you. If you want to build into more abilities back, that is a good play as well. So Innervation could be really good here. And on the bond, I run 1 outreach and 1 bomber mod. This gives me melee and grenade energy every time I cast a rift. And then we get rift energy from bolstering detonation on our arms. This just helps us feed whatever ability that we need. And then I run a time dilation mod. Onto the artifact mods, Solar Orbs is a no-brainer as we get a ton of solar weapon kills, and the solar orb kills will give us stacks of death throws. Refreshing pickups will grant us energy to our least charged ability, and then we have the mod that makes this build especially strong this season, which is Elemental Fury. While stunned, champions take bonus damage from your abilities and elemental orbs. This is a 35% damage bonus, which is very significant when stacked on top of our other damage buffs with this build. Semi-auto striker is also good to run if you are running a bow, sniper, or scout, as it allows you to easily get weapon surges. Then we have rapid fire ranger, which is a 15% debuff that we can apply to any champion as long as we hit the crit from a decent distance away. Again, giving us more damage to pile onto everything else. And lastly, we have monochromatic maestro to give us even more damage. This will buff our abilities and weapon damage by 10% for 5 seconds, so it's perfect for this build. So these artifact perks are what really push us build over the top. We can get 35% from Elemental Fury, 15% from Rapid Fire Ranger, and 10% from Monochromatic Maestro. These combined give us a 70.8% damage buff, and they can be applied completely solo. We then throw in Death Throws times 5, hitting for 100% more damage, and we are dealing some big damage numbers. So on Carl, our base grenade hits for 361 impact damage and 46,619 explosion damage. We then throw on Touch of Flame, and our second explosion hits for 50,874 damage, so this is a 2.08x damage buff. Then with Death Throws times 5, this goes to 722 impact damage, 93,237 damage on the first explosion, and 101,169 damage on the second. All those numbers are double the previous damage numbers, and the Scorch Ticks also tick for double the damage. But without the Scorch Ticks, the damage from just one grenade is 195,128. Sadly, Carl is not a champion, but if we take that number and multiply it by 1.35x, 1.15x, and 1.1x, we get 333,229 damage. Again, this is not even including the Scorch Ticks, so it hits more than 7 times harder than the base fusion grenade, over 600% more damage. In the background footage, you can see the damage buffs in action on a Master Lost Sector champion, and this was without Solar Surge on. If Solar Surge was on, the champion would have outright died. And the strike gameplay was all from Grandmasters, and you can see how much it messes those champions up. So yeah, this build is the real deal. I have a solo GM run with this build on my channel if you want to see this build in action, but if not, it's all good. Some weapons that I really like to run with this build are my fixed odds machine gun for easily mowing down adds to get death throw stacks, and for this season in particular, Polaris Lance, Skyburner's Oath, Sunshot, and Tiku's Divination are all wonderful options to run in Nightfalls with this build. And that pretty much covers the whole build. I absolutely love running it, especially in a fire team. Bungie keeps making ad-dense activities, which allows Verities to shine even more. If there aren't too many ads around, then you can't get the benefit of this exotic as often. But try it out, especially this season thanks to all the buffs. It's a ton of fun. I have a dim link in the description if you're interested. Finally, if you like this video, then do me a favor and click the like button, as it really helps the channel. And if you want to see more awesome builds, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss future uploads. And if you are still watching, then I appreciate you very much. Happy grenade spamming, and take care.